for the tardiness here. We about to get started in traditional UAM family, so hotep to everybody. Y'all doing all right? That don't sound too good. Y'all doing all right? That's better. Let us all stand as we sing our national anthem. Our resident songstress is not with us this evening, but I know y'all gonna pull out some Nina Simone for me tonight, right? Y'all gonna pull it out. You gonna pull out some Barry White. You gonna pull it out. You gonna pull out some Marvin tonight, right? Remember how Marvin sang the Star Spangled Banner, right? We gotta put that into our anthem. All right? So let us begin. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new days begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Please remain standing as we pour libations to our ancestors. Thank you, Papa. Today, in 91, our young sister was murdered in cold blood. In the West Coast, Latasha Harlan lost her life today. We say ashe to her. Ashe. Today, we have to remember that this is Freedom Party headquarters. One of the most brilliant men of our time died in 1806 today. He wasn't just a mathematician and an astronomer and an architect. He was a political man. You have to read the letter that Benjamin Banneker wrote to Thomas Jefferson. He was a brilliant, prolific writer. We say to you, brother, ashe. Ashe. We have to remember that our ancestors who came before us, we have to remember the struggle that they endured. I want you, brother and sisters, to remember your great-grandparents. How would they feel about a freedom party right now while they was on the plantation running from old massa? Even those who of us of ours free stock, who were free, kidnapped and sold into slavery. What would they think today about a freedom party? So I want you, brothers and sisters, to call out your ancestors today. Call them out. I call out Berta Lee Wilson. Ashe. I call out Elizabeth Toussaint. Ashe. Call them out. Call them out. Call them out. That's right, call them out. They will be proud of us today for a freedom party. Never dreamed it would ever come true. This is historic. You want to be able to tell your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews and neighbors that you played a key role into the production of a freedom party. Think about what Ya Asantewa went through. What if she had a freedom party with her today? What if Fannie Lou Hamer, in all her courage, had a freedom party with her today? How would they feel? What would Ida B. Wells say today if she had a freedom party? Malcolm X and Marcus Messiah Garvey will be even greater had they had a freedom party alongside them. Think about what Kwame Ture could have done today had he had a freedom party next to him. Could you imagine the power that Khalid Abdul Muhammad would have today if he had a freedom party with him? If the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a freedom party with him? You got to understand the time that you're living in. This is not something that's passé. This is direct and it is powerful, and we are speaking truth to power. So to all our ancestors who came before us, we say to you, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. You may all be seated. Y'all doing all right? Yes. I mean, it's a lot going on. It is a lot going on today. Where Brother Monty at? Right here. Oh. Brother Monty gave me this a long time ago. It's a picture of Ya Asantewa. I never leave home without it. It's with me every day. So if somebody rob me, they gonna get some stuff. I got Garvey money in my bag. You know, I got Ya Asantewa in my bag. I got Freedom Party in my bag. I got Alton Maddox in my bag. I got Dr. Umar Johnson in the bag. By the way, he'll be here on the 23rd. Y'all get that in your program? You're going to tell somebody to be here for this. Now, let me tell you something. He's been given the name, the Prince of Pan-Africanism. And you can believe that. He lives up to it every day. This new generation of lecturers are picking up where the great ones left off. And me and Chop was sitting in the back. What's up, Chop? I'm right here. Brownsville's finest is here. Right here. That's right. Give it up for Brother Chop. He in the house. He always working. He be hitting our people on the street. He ain't just going to give you a palm card. He going to give you some information to put in here to make you think a little bit better. But this new generation of lecturers, we got them coming through here. And a lot of folks don't know about them. A lot of folks run from them. They too raw. They too real. But as my brother said, he says, you on the battlefield. You don't have time for pleasantries and niceties. We in the fort at the top of the citadel. Sister Elsie, we at war. You don't have time for pleasantries. And like he said, if you can't stomach me, you can't deal with this beast. Now these young brothers, Dr. Umar, Seti, Professor Griff, they have a way of reaching our young folks. See, I got to back up a minute because I'm going to tell some truth right now. And it might get me in trouble with some of y'all, but I don't care. Not that I don't care about your feelings. It's just the truth that I have to tell. Now, those of you who were born before 1965, 1969, I should say, you dropped the ball. And I'm going to say this because you dropped the ball because you have developed this same space, this same diversity that the beast has with their youth. You become afraid of them. You won't talk to them. You'll write them off. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I ain't talking to all of y'all. We've developed that same problem. You don't know who your neighbors are. You don't want to know who your neighbors are. You're afraid to get involved with certain things. You develop this same mechanism. It's like you've become chocolate crackers. This is what's happening with us. This is the problem that we face. But it's an easy problem to fix. All you have to do is engage. Our people are thirsty for information. You just got to get them where they at. Right? Now, me and Brother Chop and Harold, we were sitting in the back talking. How I speak to you all may not be how I speak to somebody who's puffing a blunt on the block. But I don't run from them because that's their vice and that's what they choose to do. You got to get them right where they at. So try it. Be revolutionary. Some people say, well, a lot of these young folks, they might, I'm so glad that I had the mother that I had. She taught me to be fearless. Y'all see a big girl standing in front of you, but I was a little thing. She just taught me to be fearless or else face her. And she's made her transition some time ago, but I still fear her. She still speaks to me. Let me know what it was like because Mary Immaculate Hospital at that time wouldn't allow black women to give birth there at that particular time. And she miscarried on the steps of the courthouse across the street. So I remember these things. You understand what I'm saying? How can I let her down? How can you let your ancestors who were here before you, how can you let them down? Because when you die here, you may be looking for a savior, but you're going to face them on the other side. And I got to look at them with truth. So just do your best work. You ain't got to be crazy. Just do your best work. Last week we had a women's panel. All of the sisters said we got to have a part 2 to that. Because we just touched the tip of the iceberg with certain things. And one of the points we brought up was mental illness. What's going on now? What you've seen in the news thus far? I mean, to set yourself on fire. Harold said that ain't start happening until we start hanging out with white folks. But mental illness is real. It is something that all of us have to deal with this dual personality. Amos Wilson told you about that. Bobby E. Wright talked about this type of menticide. You have to break that self-hate mechanism down. You don't want to be African. You don't want to be black. And this is just not here. It's around the world, throughout the diaspora. We have to fix that. And so I use mediums to help me fix that. You friend me on a social network page, that's just what you're going to get. I teach every day. I don't have time for friend requests for play games. Don't send me no party invites. Don't send me none of that, because you will get the delete button quick. Right, Walter? I just don't have time. We don't have time to waste. But the word is getting out about the Freedom Party. I mean, yes, it's getting out. It's getting out. I realized it when we were at the Million Youth March in Harlem. There was a vendor's fee if you wanted to sell merchandise. Freedom Party didn't have to do that. All of the speakers had to be pre-selected. The Freedom Party didn't have to do that. We opened the conference. We had the vendors rocking our stuff. We had people on the stage wearing our stuff. That image is popular. Image is power. Because like I said before, if I draw some golden arches, y'all going to tell me it's McDonald's. Image is power. Marketing is serious. They always marketing something to you. Everything. Even when you go to discount store. See all that stuff they put on the counter? That's what you call impulse shopping. It's just to market it to you. You don't need it, but you'll pick it up. This look cute. I might need this. Some of us in here are 99-cent store addicts. It's real. You know, Edward Bernays, the father of marketing. And everything is marketed to ages 9 through 24. They don't give a damn about the rest of us. Because the rest of us is going to follow suit or either buy for that genre. That's a fact. I work in sales and marketing for over 20 years. We don't market to none of y'all, but you're going to buy it, regardless. This is why the Freedom Party logo must be everywhere. Everywhere. I have it on me every day. Every day. You ride the train and the subway, and sometimes you see the same folks. They'll look down and see that Freedom Party button. You understand? You can't help it. You can't help it because we've developed this problem where we are afraid to be eye to eye, direct with one another. So you rather look up, look down. That's marketing 101. I just gave y'all a free lesson. White folks pay me a lot of money. And I know what I'm talking about. You're going to look at it regardless. And so my job in the Freedom Party is to market that logo. To get people familiar with that logo. And the speakers that we bring in here, we make sure they all get a t-shirt or a hat so they can wear it everywhere they go. Because I know Umar wears t-shirts, you know. So when I hit him with that Freedom Party t-shirt, the next time he's somewhere else, he's going to be wearing it. Trust me. How I know? Because we got him to wear at the Million Youth March. He had on our button. SETI had on our button. Polite had on our button. Sarnetta 1-in-1, I just didn't have it available at that particular time. As I said, even the vendors who were selling things had on our buttons. Marketing is power. So y'all may not want to pay me a whole lot of money, but I do know what I'm talking about. And I didn't even study marketing in school. I studied law. But I know marketing was power. So October 23rd, we got Dr. Umar Johnson coming in here. You want to be here for that. The following week, October 30th, we have Sarah, Suit, and SETI coming in here. A lot of people are going to lose their religion that night. It is what it is. You can't dispute the facts. You may not like it. Like he said, I don't ask you what you believe. I'm asking you what you know. Following week, November 6th, we got the mastermind, Professor Griff, up in here. He's going to tell y'all a little bit something about marketing and how they use you. You know, mothers, the game that's run on females. It is a serious game run on you because every man in here, let me change that. All the straight men in here, raise your hand. Now, I don't mean no disrespect to anyone else. I'm just asking. Raise your hand. Go ahead. And I'm about to say something. Now, tell me if I'm lying. When you wanted to get clean and sharp, looking dressed, did you do it for yourself or to get that woman? Or a woman? Even that is marketing towards women. You understand? When we had the women's panel, my daughter said, if a young brother come to me with the pants down, and I'm not just saying that because she's my daughter, but she's beautiful. You can keep walking. You understand? That's the power of the female. You don't realize your power, sister. You understand? I'm telling you, when I married my husband, he said, this is a game. You don't get out. That's it. That's it. Y'all doing it all wrong. You couldn't pay automatics and leave Leola. You can't pay brother Amin and leave sister Amin. I put all the money in my pocket on it. I bet it. This is real. It's all here. It's all here. And as I said last week, even pimps and prostitutes understand that philosophy. Who chooses who? The prostitute, in order for that relationship to work, the hoe got to choose the pimp. Otherwise, it don't work. Ask any pimp. That's it. See, brothers come with their game. They think they slide slick. We can tell from back there if we want to be bothered with you. Am I right, sisters? You say one thing stupid, it's over. You could be clean, sharp, dressed to the hills, money flowing out the pocket. You say one thing stupid, is over. That's power. That's why I keep saying, once us sisters get it together, the jig is up for everybody. And that's why they put the pressure on our brothers. And as Maddox said before, although our brothers are the victims of this, we sisters are the target. That's it. The first teacher of the child is who? So if you have an ignorant mother, you have an ignorant child. The jig is up. Once we get it together. October 27th, the Freedom Party hosts an evening with song. LaFrederick Kostner, right here at the Brooklyn Christian Center, 6 to 9. Tickets are $30, but if you come with a group of 10 or more, it's $25. This is a fundraiser for the Freedom Party. And just like any other party, this party needs funds. It needs talent, and it needs funds. And everybody has a talent. Never sell yourself short. Everybody has a talent, and we'll put it to use. Now, Queens Public Access Television, Watt Production. He made this whole month, the brother who's filming right in front of you is featuring the Freedom Party. So everything that goes on here, you can watch it on your Queens Public Access Television. You would have to check your local listings. From what I understand, if you have Time Warner in Queens, it would be channel 34. On Saturdays, he replays it at 9:30 p.m., and that would be channel 79. If you live in the borough of Brooklyn, on Thursdays, 2 p.m., it is channel 34 if you have Verizon. And Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on channel 35. Now, Manhattan Network features our mayor and the 100 blacks in law enforcement who care on Community Cop every Tuesday. Y'all been watching that? Did my brothers look good yesterday or what? Let me tell you, I was telling their campaign manager in the back, I said, now, they just made your job even harder, because now you got to keep these ladies off me now. They're going to be coming for Mike and Mike. They're going to be coming. Can you hear me? Back there? Okay. Pop-up got it. They're going to be on the job. Did you hear Brother Michael Gray's on Black Talk Radio Network. He ripped it. He just ripped it. The host was like, I've never heard a black cop, or retired cop for that matter, speak the way that you're speaking. Mike said, I ain't everybody. How can I look my people in the face and play games like that? He ripped it. Then Sunday morning, he was on Reverend Sharpton's show for about 3 minutes. Now, I'm a whole fat man yeah, he's still fat because his head is fat. He believes his own nonsense. He lost the weight here, but it went up here. That's right. Sister Manera said, nothing changed. Give her a round of applause. She did the panel with us last week. She has a lot of great wisdom. I like to plug my elders for their wisdom, so she lets me plug her every now and then. But then he was on open line for the second hour live. Now, both hosts said that they would have him on again to discuss his political platform, right, Sister Pat? Now, the thing is, we got to hold their feet to the fire. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start working on Glenn Ford, because they need to be on the Black Agenda report. So I'm going to be pushing Glenn Ford on that. And shout out to Sister Robin Pugh, who made that interview with Black Talk Network Radio happen. When Sister Utrice Lee was here before, she told y'all the power of internet radio and how it's moving. It is moving fast and quick that mainstream media is now having serious problems. You see papers going out. Print media is going out. It's just the wave of the future. Now, either you run with it or you get run over. A lot of people don't like to deal with technology. See, I hang out with a bunch of geeks. I do. Computer geeks all day. I was working on something Sunday, and my daughter said, this is just crazy. You just more advanced than I am. So I hang out with the geeks. The Geek Squad. I like them. They give me free programs and everything. Y'all hanging out with the wrong crew. But you have to be a part of technology. You can't run from it. You have to embrace it and move with it. Otherwise, you're going to get lost. And that's another problem we have, this great digital divide with us. My brother in the back shaking his head. He with me. Shout out to you, brother. But we have this great digital divide. You know, my little niece, she can program something in a minute. Just get to her. I knew she was a genius because at the age of 3, she was reading thick books like this. So, you know, but she can put stuff, she's something else. You got to catch up. And that's causing a divide with us. We have to move with that. We can't run from it. Something Tony Brown said years ago. We have to get hold of technology and use it for our purpose. Right? So, I don't like social networking, but I do it for my purpose. Brother Maddox, he don't know nothing about Facebook, but he got more followers than me. Now, how that happen? Right? Because me and Sister Karen Mason is right here. Shout out to Karen Mason, who makes sure that his page is updated daily. I mean, pop up right here. He'll tell you. Brothers and sisters, don't run from technology. And I don't want to hear that stuff no more. They watching everything. They still watching you. They know you in here tonight. Police in here right now. That's where it comes from. You can't have that kind of fear. I don't have that kind of fear. Right? If you're going to get me, then get me. But I can hold my head up high and say I was fighting for freedom. You got to ask yourself that same question. Now, we're going to be going to the National Rifle Association down in Virginia in April. And y'all need to start saving up for that. People always ask, well, how can you be a member of the NRA? How can you buy the Daily News every day? How can you buy the Times and the Post? You got to be in it to know it. They encouraging us to get weapons. Believe that? Its youngest and most outspoken member is a black man, Colin Iowa. You got to watch this, and he's a lawyer. To see him, you'll never think that. With the hat backwards and all that kind of, you'll never think that. And he's telling black folks, arm yourselves. Arm yourselves. Visit these gun shows. See who in them. I bet you if you go to the next gun show and see how many of us is in there. Look at the numbers. What is that for? Government shutdown. You know, black folks is all in an uproar about this government shutdown. The government always been shut down on us. When has it ever been open? When? When y'all have privilege and access to government, and you say our government. Like Malcolm said, they won't even let you in the door, but it's our government to you. Come on. It's going to be with white folks is losing their minds. They can't take it. I'm serious. And the fallout is us. You know, you got military folks killing our brother on the side of the road. Police shooting our sister down right on the mall, right in front of Obama House. Like, we gonna kill your sister in front of you. What you gonna do about it, nigga? White folks will rather shut their government down than to take some orders from a Negro. They can't take it. They cannot take it. But this is what we dealing with. This is what we dealing with. What's up, Brother Ethan? Give him a round of applause. That's my brother. So be ready to go with us to the NRA. Yeah, I got membership. I got a license too. And arms with bullets. The home is well stocked. Yes, sister.
Do you think there's something to the fact that when someone commits a felony, they can no longer...
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Do you think that there's something to the fact that when someone commits a felony, they can no longer own a gun?
Not true. That's another myth.
It is?
Not true. Let's say, for example, I committed a murder. And they let me out in 20 years. Gave me 5 years probation. I've exhausted that time, right? 20 years in, and I did the 5 years probation. All you have to do is now go to the criminal court in which you were prosecuted, right? And get that lien against your record. Once it shows that you did that time, you fill out the paperwork just like everybody else. They just tell you that.
Also vote, because it's the same thing. They say
Uh-huh.
if you went to jail, you can't vote, but you can.
Once that time is exhausted. See, this is why the Freedom Party is important. We have a lot of information to get out to our people. Because even when I went to get my license, I was the only female and the only one of this hue in there. Mind you, all of the workers in there look just like us. Right? And when I went, you know, they processed the paperwork, and this sister was shut. Give it up for our public advocate candidate in the back. Did a wonderful job yesterday on Community Cop. Him and Michael Graves is going to rip it open. Trust and believe. Then they got me on the team. You imagine what New York City is going to be? But when I went in there, all of us but one white woman was working in the office. And when I got to the part where I was doing fingerprints, the sister said, you want a gun? I said, yes. She said, you hunt? I said, yes. She said, can you tell me something? I said, sure. She said, well, how did you go about the process to getting your permit? I said, well, sister, how long you been working here? She said, about 12 years now. I said, really? She said, as a matter of fact, none of us in here have a permit. I said, correction. I know that woman has one. I put some money on it. So she started to laugh. But then I told her the process. Now, how is it you work in the office and you don't know the damn process?
I can answer that for you.
Yes, Sister Manera.
Because they don't teach you the process. So those who are in front of the public don't know how the process works.
Wow. But I think we all can read. Because that's how I got it. That's it. I'll just read. The information is there. And this sister who was working behind the counter, she had them white boys pissed off because she was shutting them down. No, your paperwork ain't right. Your paperwork ain't right. Your paperwork ain't right. And then they were getting angry, like, who the hell is this little black woman to tell me? But I was the last person to be serviced. And she said, you like my process of elimination, right? So I started to laugh. I said, yeah. She said, I know your paperwork gonna be right. I said, 100% right. She going through my paperwork, address, notary for my husband, this, that, and the other, and everything, notarized. She said, on point. She said, have a seat outside. We'll call you back in an hour for your fingerprints. I said, okay. I sat outside and I got my fingerprints done. I said, we'll call you in about 6 to 8 weeks for your permit. Simple. Simple. Try it. Get them permits. Arm yourselves. Read the paperwork. You come in here all the time and you hear Maddox. You don't got no law dictionaries yet? It's simple. We got our master teacher in the house. Y'all ain't come to hear me speak. Imam Benjamin Bilal, to me, well, I'm going to adopt him as my big uncle. He didn't say that yet, but I'm just going to pull him into it. It's the power of the female, right, sisters? Right? This brother, the first time I heard him, I said, wow. Wow. What Maddox has been speaking about, so does he. Just in a different way. However, the message is still the same. You have to understand the power of language and how it works. More Brownsville in the house. What's up, brother? He got the baby with him tonight. Give the baby a round of applause. Young sister up in here. But to understand the power of language and how it's used on us, to pick things apart and figure out what these damn beasts are talking about here. It's mind-blowing. So I want to thank my big uncle for that. You know, I study in a different way. I want to thank the Armeens for that too, because they brought them in the fold. See, that's the power of teaching. They say, well, we ain't going to get up there and tell you. We're going to bring the master teacher up in here. Now, I want you to take what he's saying to you. Next week when you come in here, you're going to have to get the DVD from Sister Maddox in the back. Because you got to pick apart what he's saying, just like I do with Maddox. See, I got to pick what they're saying apart. You just don't read or listen to what they're saying one time. Like Brother Chop said, you got to listen to Dr. Clark over and over. You got to break that history down. That's how I learned to study. That's why I can walk in a classroom and take a test and don't pick up none of them damn books. Because it's just memorization anyway in the classroom. So that's all I had to do and walk out number 4 in my class. I could have been number 1. I just kept cutting. I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. That's one of the reasons why I dropped out of college, because I figured out the plan quick. And even one of my professors said, you don't belong here. And so I took him on his word. Now I make more money than he do. But anyway, you didn't come to hear me speak. Brothers and sisters, the Freedom Party, United African Movement, Freedom Retreat for Boys and Girls, get on your feet for this great master teacher, my big uncle, Imam Benjamin Bilal.
Thank you very much. Allahu Akbar. God is greater. As we begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, we begin with the name of Allah, who is the merciful benefactor and the merciful redeemer. I greet you in all sincerity in the greetings of not only peace, but completeness. See, you may not have heard that before. That salam not only means peace, but it also means that you should be involved in an effort to complete yourself. It means wholeness. It means a lot of things. And peace is actually just the result of the effort towards wholeness. See, that makes sense to me. Yeah, it makes sense to me that if I'm in a state of chaos, that it is an effort to bring together all of my essential component parts that will account for me being once again at peace. You don't begin at peace, but baby came here and just peacefully. They're peaceful after they get here. But the struggle to establish that new life can be very chaotic, very traumatic, as many mothers, or all mothers for that matter, will tell you. So again, with this greeting, Assalamu alaikum, keep in mind the total context in which those words apply. There are some of you here, maybe many of you here, who have heard me speak before. And if so, more than likely you've heard me speak on this same theme or this same topic, because this is my third entry speaking to the theme African American brain drain. And if I'm speaking on it for a third time, that must mean that it is very important. African American brain drain. I think it is essential for us as a people, as an African American people, if you will, to begin looking at all of the factors that are responsible for determining the condition and the position that we find ourselves in this particular day and time. Very, very important. And I can't think of any other way to bring it to you except through the vehicle of language and the understanding of language. You know, one of the most important things that was taken from us as a people when we were captured from the continent of, we have to say, so-called Africa, because they've manipulated us out of everything that was original. And Africa was not the original name of our continent. So they took that from us also. All right, Africa is actually a Greek name. All right, for those of you who know, it's a Greek name. Black is a color name. And colored is even a more colored name. And Negro is just black in Portuguese. So they've been manipulating our appellations, if you will, for all of the time that we've been a part of this society. And I believe that it is high time that we get the grip of who we are, what we are, and why we are back into our own hands. And we can only do that by being honest with where it is we are and establishing ourselves upon something much more substantial than what we were given as a rule for life. And not even life, but just survival in America. We've only been given rules and regulations for survival, but not really living. Because we have not had the power to do so in our own hands, I would say, until this day. And I'm speaking of this day now as an era, not just as a 24-hour day. We've had an era that has given us some very, very profound leadership that most of our people have absolutely forgotten about. Profound leadership. Some of them they have forgotten about, and some of them they barely knew. So we're going to introduce both aspects of that leadership today in giving you words to commemorate the Earth Days, not birthdays, but Earth Days of both the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and one of his sons who became leader after him, Imam Warithdin Muhammad. One you know very well. You should. If you don't know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, shame on you. I don't care if you're Christian, Buddhist, I don't care what you are. If you're in America and you happen to look like us, you should know something of the history and the actions, the public and private actions of the one called the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we will be saying a few words about him. And you probably don't know very much at all about his son, except for what you may have heard as rumors or just some crazy stuff on the street or in the church or whatever you might have come across his name in. But his son, I'm telling you, if you like what I've been saying, you should love what he's been saying. Because what I'm saying is really nowhere close to what he has been saying, had been saying for better than 30-something years. So we pray that God's mercy and blessings will be upon both of those men, those deceased men, and that we will pick up the mantle of not only them, but every voice among our people who have stood up for freedom, justice, equality. So are you with me? All right, we're going to take our time this evening, but we're not going to keep you all night long. All right? Yeah. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad put out a very important book called The Message to the Black Man in America. How many people have seen it already? Message to the Black Man in America, a very profound reading. It was actually the first book that introduced me to the teachings and the mindset of Elijah Muhammad. I was 13 years old at the time, and that book was actually sitting in my china cabinet, kitchen china cabinet, standing up. And to this day, no one will acknowledge who actually put it there. But it was standing up, greeting me on my way from junior high school and then into high school, and no one would touch the book, no one would remove the book, no one would set the book face down, no one would remove it from the cabinet. It remained there standing up. And one day we had a lesson in high school on Malcolm X, who we'll be saying a few words about also. May God's peace be upon all of these men, all of these souls. And I remembered reading in the autobiography of Malcolm X this man's name, Elijah Muhammad. And I said, well, that's the man whose book is sitting in my China room cabinet. So that particular day I came home from school and I decided to open up the cabinet, the kitchen China cabinet, and grab the book. Of course, while no one was looking. Yeah, a strange man on a strange book with a strange little pillbox hat with a star and a crescent. I wasn't going to let nobody see me take this book and read it. This wasn't the standard book. But I opened up the book and I had taken it to my living room to open it up, and I opened it up and it fell right on the chapter of what is called Yaqub's history. Now, those of you who know something about Yaqub's history, you can imagine the kind of trauma that I was in for. Just a little black boy minding my business and run straight smack dab into Yaqub and his history. Well, I thought the book was so powerful, I had to take it out of the house. And myself, I called my older brother, Abdullah, and I said, we have to read this in the staircase, man. This is too dangerous to read in the house, man. And we stood in that stairwell for 2 hours, reading that book called Message to the Black Man. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, I said all of that to point your attention to the title of that book, Message to the Black Man in America. And we know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called himself the messenger. The messenger. And many of us as Muslims sometimes get confused with his English title, messenger, and the Arabic title, Rasul, which we also refer to our prophet, prayers and peace be upon him, Muhammad, of 1400 years ago, as messenger of God or messenger of Allah. But there is a distinct difference between what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad considered as messenger, and he made himself very clear, I'm the messenger of the one who sent me, and I'm a messenger to the black man. This is a message to the black man, not all black men. He said message to the black man, where? In America. So there are a lot of people who read up on the history, but they're not aware of these very significant details. There was a time when Africans or African descendants could not get into the temple unless they were indigenous to this country. If one of our Caribbean brothers or sisters tried to enter a temple or a mosque of Elijah Muhammad, they would be denied. Yeah, that's right. They would be denied. They would be told these meetings are closed. They are specifically for those who are the direct descendants of America's slaves. Because there was a particular condition that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was dealing with that demanded that we be quarantined. The world called it separation, but it was really a form of quarantine. Now, why would a wise man like this decide to quarantine the African American, the black American, the indigenous black man to this country, and even keep him and her away from their own people who did not grow up under the same influences as this particular man born in this particular country, woman born in this particular country? See, these are the kinds of questions that we have to ask ourselves as scholars in our history, not just cursory readers of our history. We have to become scholars, because if we don't get the story right, it won't be told correctly. We have to know it for ourselves so that we can pass it down to young sisters like the one we have here and the younger generation that we have visiting us from time to time. We have to be able to give them the facts, give them the truth. So we were quarantined. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also referred to us as a baby nation. Not a teenage nation. Definitely not an adult nation. And he called us a baby nation. Now, do you have your baby around just any and everybody? And it doesn't mean they have to be evil for you not to want your baby to be around them. It just means that they could innocently be carrying some germs from their lifestyle, from their whatever they just got finished doing or not doing. You got people going to the restroom who won't wash their hands, who want to pick your baby up, put their hands in your baby's face. I'm talking about strangers. Not to mention people who come into your home or people that you go take the baby to see. Yes, like your doctors. And they have to put signs up now in the clinics to remind medical practitioners to wash their hands. That should tell you what you're dealing with. Yeah? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad understood that the cultures of the world had not yet washed their hands. And the proof for it is what you see right now in America amongst many of the other cultures that have come here with their cultures. And we don't know or don't understand what the connections are culturally for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to make that kind of wise decision in advance to just quarantine us. Because we had a sickness also that he didn't want to spread to other people. And his job was just to clean us up. These are his words. He said, I'm not here to teach so much religion. He said, someone will come after me to deal with the religion. This ain't about religion. You need to eat. You need a place to lay your head. You need some clothes on your back. So he advocated food, clothing, and shelter. Money, plenty money, good homes, and friendship, not just in the black walk of life. He said what? In all walks of life. So he was preparing his people for something. He was not a stagnant thinker. He wasn't thinking for 1934 and not trying to project things that could and would occur in 1944 and 1954, etc. Very, very wise leader. So he was trying to save a baby from the fire. Imagine a mother trying to save her baby from the fire. What would you not do? You got to think about that. What would you not do? Would your actions be ordinary or would they be sometimes even erratic? Even what people would consider to be nonsensical, prejudicial in the attempt to save your baby from the fire. What fire? The fire of America's corrupt system. The fire from America's corrupt academic environment. As you heard our sister say, some of the reasons why she didn't want to continue with what they call higher education. Sometimes I think higher education is a reference to the drugs that a lot of them use. Because you hit some of these college campuses, that's just about the only higher you're going to get. No, I'm not advocating that we avoid higher education or colleges and universities. I think we have something very special deposited in us as a people that will allow us to be able to walk clear and free through all of that, I almost cuss, stuff. Yeah. Listen, if it allow a Muslim to come in here and talk to you in a church, it'll allow a Muslim to go and talk to them in the college. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, message to the black man. And he was struggling against another influence that had come into our people. That was not quite a message. It was actually something that sounded like a message. The word is called a massage. You see, there's only one letter difference between message, M-E-S-S-A-G-E, and massage, M-A-S-S-A-G-E. From two different languages, two different roots, two different backgrounds, but they're only one letter apart. And a massage on the black man in America had been given to us by those in so-called white America. They were massaging us. You know what it means to massage, massage the figures. That means when all is said and done, it ain't going to come out right because you massaged it. Massage just means to touch a thing, to feel a thing. They were feeling us out. Matter of fact, they were literally doing that during slavery. On the auction block, touching us, groping us, feeling us, massaging us. And they were also doing it on the higher abstract level in terms of the effect that it was having on our emotionality, on our intellect, and on our very souls. They were massaging the black man in America. This word massage actually comes from an Arabic word. Look it up. We got some professors here of the language who can verify these things. There's an Arabic word, massa, and also massia. Both of those words allude to massaging or anointing or rubbing or touching or feeling. It is actually where the Hebrew, or it is related to the Hebrew term Messiah, which they call the anointed one, right? The anointed one. That's where it's from. Messiah, Moshiach, they call it in Hebrew, and in English we just say Messiah. But it means the anointed one, meaning the one who is rubbed. It means literally to rub the skin. And the rubbing of the skin is an effort to bring back the sensitivity to that area. You see, I got pain in my shoulder, right? And the masseuse, he rubbed that shoulder. He said, I want to bring that back to normalcy. So that's the original reason for giving a massage, but the man who doesn't have an original mind in his non-original head is not going to get the message to do anything to you that represents being normal or being natural. So we had unnatural hands on our necks, on our shoulders, on our backs, on our flanks. And it created an abnormal situation for us as a people. And that is what I am addressing today as the African American brain drain. The African American brain drain. Those so-called whites who stood over us in slavery, they had us calling their males massa also. Not master, massa. That same word I just gave you. That means to massage, to rub you. In most cases, the wrong way. Right? And they had us calling their women Missy. Miss and Miss. Miss Ann. Missy. And all of it turned out to be very messy. And then they called the group life among all people masses. See, they leave their mess everywhere they go. They call the group masses. And what are masses? I'm giving you their language now. They'll take the first letter on a word and they'll give it a code. So in many cases, for many of these words, the letter M, being the 13th letter of the English alphabet, represents in their connections something that is unlucky. We know that. Right? Unlucky. They say unlucky 13. They have a situation even in downtown Manhattan where you get into the elevator of some of these buildings, there's no 13th floor. You go from 12 to 14. I said, what happened to the 13th? You mean to tell me the builders, these architects and these intelligent college and university graduates were so superstitious that they left out the 13th floor? And in reality now, then the 14th floor is the 13th floor. Y'all are following where I'm going with this, right? The point is this. If it represents unluckiness, whatever that is, and that M being the 13th letter is put on the beginning of the word masses, then what's left to the word? So what they were doing were calling us unlucky asses. That's how they saw the masses. And what they meant were, we are going to relegate these people to donkey status. The majority. And we will maintain the upright, dignified position of leadership over them. And that scheme that I'm pointing out to you right now is in both the Bible and the Quran. Both the Bible and the Quran speak about that ass. That donkey. Follow where we're going. Now, I want you on this train. And don't get off until it's actually your stop. You know, we have a tendency to see something out the window and get off prematurely. End up lost. And as one of our famous groups, the Whispers, said, lost and turned out. You know, we don't want to be Olivia. No, she was a slave. We should be tired of those days. So this 13 represented leadership, is the point. Now, 13 might be unlucky for some, but for those of you who are Christians especially, it should represent good news. Because Jesus, peace be upon him, had 12 disciples, making him the 13th. In the courtroom, where they're making decisions that affect life and death, they have, in many cases, 12 jurors. And the judge, the one sitting in the position of leadership, represents the 13th, just like Jesus' position. He represented leadership over the 12. And even the President of the United States has a cabinet where there are 12 members. He making the 13th, leadership and judgment over the 12. And if you want to get more metaphysical, then you look at the cosmos, look at the zodiac. Now the zodiac, they say, has 12. Who do you think is the 13th? No, not God. God is Ahad. He's not 13. You are. Or let's put it this way. You are supposed to be. It's in something Imam Muhammad told us once. He described that man as cosmic man. We'll talk a little bit about that before we're finished, inshallah. Cosmic man. You're not even just supposed to be African. You know, one day you'll be the United Cosmic Movement. Yeah, the power that has been instilled in us as a people and in us as human beings, generally speaking, goes beyond geography. We are part of the universe. And when our prophet was instructed to read, those being the first words that were issued to him through revelation, he wasn't reading a physical two-dimensional experience book. He was reading the same verses I just told you about, the uni verses. Now, when you can bring your mind and your attention and your will to be a part of that kind of academic experience between you and creation and the one who created creation and created you, then you'll be reading for real. So we're talking about solving a dilemma. The word solve means to untie, to become solvent, to become loose, actually, but not in the immoral sense. It means that you are able to identify knots, K-N-O-T-S. You're able to identify where things are tied up that should have been freed, like your intellect. Things are tied up like your brotherhood and your sisterhood. Things are tied up like your relationship with your parents and your neighbors and your community. All of these different areas of our life, our social life, has been tied up. We've been walking around in nothing but knots because we have not had the correct tools in front of us that would allow us to solve the problem. Solving the problem is of paramount importance. And what is a problem? Most of the wisdom that I'm sharing with you tonight is actually right before your eyes all of the time, hidden in plain sight, within words. Problem is just probing the limb. Probing or investigating the liminal. In psychology, they call it liminal. And when they want to throw something past you, they shoot it into your subliminal mind or your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind. It's all tied up, people, in language. So you cannot solve a problem unless you are willing to probe your conscious mind and your conscious ideas, your conscious value system, your conscious language, your conscious behavior. That's the only way we're going to come to the point where we can solve our collective problem. Everybody understanding me? That's the only way it's going to happen. If you run from the conscious picture of what you are, who you are, no matter how ugly that picture might be, if you run from it and pretend it doesn't exist, or you pretend like you're the greatest thing on earth since sliced bread, the black man can do no wrong, has done no wrong, will do no wrong, we're lying to ourselves. And in closed quarters like this is when we should take advantage of the opportunity to share the pleasure as well as the pain of our existence. You agree? Yeah. All right. So what about this word dilemma? The D-I on the front of the word dilemma in this case means two. And then you have the word lemma, L-E-M-M-A. And lemma is also an allusion to two things. It's an allusion to someone being given a thing, and it also alludes to something that is taken away. Given and taken away, right? Give and take. That's what lemma is. So what does that mean? It means that if you run into a dilemma, there are two things essentially that you have to look at. You have to look at what's being given to you, and you have to also look at what's been taken away. It's really that simple. Then you can solve your dilemma. In talking about a brain drain Whenever we're talking about the concept of something being drained, we're talking about a liquid. You see, I have nothing better to do than think. I try to think about everything. If it comes to me in a sentence, and especially if it comes to me in a scripture, I'm going to think that thing through. So when they say drain the sink, drain the bathtub, that is connected to liquid, most likely water. So if we are experiencing a brain drain as a people, that means that there's something in the brain that we no longer possess, and that thing that we no longer possess is of a liquid content. Now, we're not talking physical here. We're talking ideas, we're talking abstracts. Water, as we were taught by Imam W.D. Muhammad, is a profound symbol of something that exists within the interior content of every human being. It's called moral content. Moral. You heard of the Moors? That's where they named the Moors. The Greeks named the Moors just like they named Africa. Yeah, mores, values, principles. These are good words. And then they said moral. It just means M-O-R, more, A-L means the. They just put it on the other end of the word. Instead of saying the more, they said morale. Right? So, why is water connected with the moral nature? Because the moral nature is what is responsible for keeping us clean. When we think morally, moral thinking in the brain is responsible for keeping the life form operating cleanly, without a whole lot of sediment, not sentiment, but sediment, getting into the operation or into the machinery, slowing the machinery down. And as a people, African American people are from the history of ancestors who believed in that kind of moral integrity. They believed in that. From slavery, it's written in the history, as much of it as they could capture, that our slave ancestors were very, very morally inclined people. And all you had to do for most of them is come to them with a spiritual idea and say, God said it. And if they believe it, they're going to adhere to it. So think of all of the multi-thousands of slaves there were, even at one time in this country, compared to the number of slave owners. There could have easily been, on any given day, a rebellion, a resurrection, that would have overpowered the smaller number in favor of that larger number of Africans. But they didn't do it because they had already had an idea planted and sub-planted into their minds, into their psyches, that this man, first and foremost, was related to God himself. Because they gave us the picture of someone that they called God and the Son of God who looked exactly like him. For all intents and purposes, that was his cousin. The one they called Jesus. That was his cousin. The only difference between him and his cousin was that they gave him to us, meaning the one that they called Jesus, in a way that would resemble the worst off of any of their people. They, in their language, would actually call him a bum. Now, take away the religion. Take away what you know about Christ. And just focus on the image that was given to us. Beaten. Decloaked. Nothing but the barest of clothing necessities around his unmentionables. If we were to see that same image on the street, we would say, boom. So what was the psychology behind this? We're talking about the African American brain drain. what caused us to lose our sense of moral perception. If we as a people could associate the worst of them and see the worst of them as God, what would we think about the best of them? What would we think about the one in a suit and tie down on Wall Street? What would we think about the one in the White House running the country and sometimes running the world? So the idea was to get us to submit our emotionality to the most forsaken image among them and condition us as a people to then have a fear and an unnatural respect for the entire group of them. And we say, Alhamdulillah, the praise belongs to Allah. You know, the word brain, B-R-A-I-N, was originally called in science a word that I'm sure you're already familiar with because it's established in science also. It represents the outer coating of every single cell in our bodies. It's called membrane. Membrane. And then later on, the purveyors of the language, whoever they are, decided to drop the mem and just call it brain. So I went searching for this mem, and I found it. I found it in language. I found it in several languages. Mem is a Hebrew word. Mem is the Hebrew letter M. Just as in Arabic, meme, you hear how closely they sound? Mem, in Arabic, meme is the letter M for Arabic-speaking people. What does mem mean? What does meme mean? They both mean exactly the same thing. Both of them mean water. Same thing we've been discussing. They both mean water. And even in the pictograph of the English letter M, you see waves in the water. They got this off of the walls of ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. This is where they got it. Almost the entire English alphabet is off of the walls of ancient Kemet. Not Hebrew. Not the Phoenicians. They lied to us. And they will continue to lie to us for as long as we don't investigate and, as I said earlier, become our own scholars and share information with our own generations that will help pull us up out of this situation that we currently find ourselves in. So why is that an important thing to acknowledge in language? Because if they remove the mem from the brain, that means that whatever that water represents, that was their focus. So if water represents morality and moral thinking, then in removing the mem from the brain, they were actually engaging in a conspiracy to remove morality out of the human life. Now we're talking beyond just our people. We're talking about human life now. An effort to remove that aspect of the intellect that is responsible for you making right choices and decisions. They remove that from the public mind. You don't believe it? Pay attention when you go home. Just look around. As you drive around. Watch, just watch. As you talk to people. When you turn your television on. When you turn your internet on. Listen to the conversations. Look at the kinds of crimes that are being committed against elderly, against the young, against babies, against children in school. And you tell me why you would not believe that this world has been sold a bill of goods when it comes to moral thinking and why we shouldn't engage in that anymore. No, let's just be stone cold rational from now on. Let the fires burn and let there be no water to put it out. And they have sold this to the African American community primarily. They used us as the guinea pigs to see what this would look like before they began selling it to the rest of humanity. They said, let's take this morally conscious people and drain them. Create a brain drain. And we're going to get very specific in just a moment, if you will allow me. I heard a young man, a young brother. I was walking on Jamaica Avenue in Queens this morning, just paying attention to everything. That's what I do for a living. I be quiet. I'm only talking because you invited me. Other than that, I'm just walking and I'm paying attention. I have my 5 senses open and I'm paying attention. I'm listening. I'm absorbing. And I'm blocking. Got to block a lot of this stuff. Right? And a young man said, and I have to quote him, talking to a partner of his, and I guess they both had to be about 25, no older than 30 years old. And he was talking about a female that he had some encounter with, some altercation, I should say, with. And you'll excuse me for this language, but he said, I ain't disrespecting no nigga cause of some bitch hoe. I had to come outside of my real character to give you that. That hurt me to give you that. But that's what he said. He said, I ain't disrespect. In other words, I ain't going to play my man down because of some woman. But he called him, his man, a nigga, and he called her a bitch hoe. So I did what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing taught us to do. She said, don't get excited. She said, when you see these abnormalities among your people, don't get excited. She said, just look at it and say, that's interesting. You understand? Wonderful woman. May God bless her with many more years. So we're talking about the dissipation of moral conscience in the African American brain. The dissipation, the effective elimination and intentional draining of the moral content within African American thinking. Now let us get clear on what this actually entails. There's a neurologist named Paul McLean. If you're writing this down, Paul, M-C, capital C-L-E-A-N. And I guess God sent him to clean a few things up among his own folk. Because he stated around 1967 or so that the human brain actually is composed of 3 major components. And we spoke on this before, but for the benefit of those of you who did not hear this, this is an important piece of information. He said that through the course of evolution, and this is not to say that he's a Darwinist, we're talking about the general concept of evolution as time passing by and circumstances and conditions changing and acclimating to whatever happens to be present at that time in that environment or for that environment. He said that during the course of human growth and development or evolution, that the human brain actually consisted first and foremost of what he has called the reptilian brain. Remember these terms. The more you remember these terms as you go back out into society and turn on your television and turn on your internet, you're going to run smack dab into this terminology. In the music industry, in the schools, in the government, you're going to see it all around you because you were exposed to it sitting here today. And that is the majesty of the one that we call Allah, who does that. Allah says, and it is Allah who is teaching all of you. And all of you, I'm sure, have had the experience of hearing a new word, and then after that, it seems like you hear it all the time. was like, where was that word before? I heard it yesterday. But all of a sudden, on the television, in the conversations, passing people by, on the bus, you hear that word. That's God reinforcing language in your brain. All right. So Paul McLean said that we have a triune brain beginning with the reptilian brain. Now, if you take out that bottom layer of brain, and you can see it, go online and just Google triune brain, and they show it to you, but they won't teach it to you. If you remove that part that we're talking about, the more sophisticated name for it is R complex. R-complex. Right? If you remove it and put it right next to any reptile's brain, lizard, iguana, etc., turtle, it's going to resemble it almost exactly. And they say that the reptilian brain is responsible especially for the instincts, and particularly the instinct of fight or flight. You've all heard that, right? Fight or flight. Well, that's a reptilian urge in the human makeup that Allah put there. It's not a bad thing. He put it there for good reasons. Because there will come times when you are threatened with an emergency situation. Or as some of us would say, situation. Yeah, now situation is kind of worse than a situation. You find yourself in a situation, you better call on every reptile possible to get you out of that one. Alhamdulillah. Now, someone pulls a pistol on you. Someone threatens your child. Your thinking brain does not have enough time to calculate what to do. In milliseconds, the reptilian brain kicks in and does what it judges in that small amount of time to be the thing that will save the life of that life form. And that's all creatures. Right? That's instinct in the human being. See, the human being is not just one thing. The human being is not created to be a party animal. To go and just drink beer and guzzle down liquor and smoke cigarettes and shoot dope and smoke reefers and all of that. That's not the human life. That's the life of those who sold us those ideas so that they would be the forever rulers over the human life. Oh, we're going to get down to business tonight. Reptilian brain. In a millisecond, you have to decide whether you can overcome this threat or whether you can get the H up out of there in time to save your life, right? Fight or flee. Fight or flight, it's called. And when you look at and study reptiles, you see it very clearly. If you'll notice, and by the way, our book, the Quran, says that God created what are called ayat. Ayat is translated into English as instructing signs. Not just signs. Signs that are designed by the creator of designs to give you instruction if you will but pay what? Attention. That's the only fee you need to pay for God to teach you. Pay attention. He said instructing signs in the heavens, instructing signs in the earth, and like signs, similar signs in all of us. He said, but all of us, very few of us paid any attention, any conscious awareness at all. So when you look into the face of the average lizard or reptile, the reptile always looks angry. You notice that? Reptile just sitting there just wake up with a bad day. Like, why are you messing with me? That's a feature, right, of the reptile. And do you know that they took that same feature and made it the feature of many of our teenagers and adults even? Wake up in the morning and just mad for no reason. In fact, some of them will get into the mirror before going to school and practice that mug, that Ice Cube piece, that whoever else, these people who established that for us. Because see, they had to establish it for us. Through the culture, they had to teach our children to do that because it's not a natural part of their makeup to look that way, especially in the morning. The only time we're supposed to look like that in the morning is when you first wake up. Because some of you are experiencing such heavenly moments in your sleep that you mad you back here again. You mad to be back here again. And that's God just teasing you a little bit. I'm going to show you a little bit what paradise is like. If you're a good person, got goodness in your heart, I'm going to put you in some places where the sun's going to shine more than over here. The air's going to be purer. You're going to dream in color. You're going to be with your friends. You're going to see your mama again who's deceased. And you're going through all of that in sleep, and people be smiling, and all of a sudden now they wake up. And God just made it so that you naturally frown when you get up. But you're not supposed to go to school with that face. You're not supposed to go to work with that face. But they've sold us that face because they were selling us a mindset. You hear their words? Mindset. Now, the second stage of this brain development in this triune picture that we're describing is called mammalian, named after the mammals. Mammalian. So the first stage is what? And the second stage is what? Excellent. Oh, we got a good group here today. Yeah, wonderful. Now, why is this second stage called mammalian? Because when the mammals began to evolve out of the